Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 202 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And before we get to this week's guest, Tim Montana, I want to remind you about some of the cool new stuff you can find in the online Mistress Carrie shop, including My Dad Thinks Mistress Carrie Rocks baby onesies, in stock and ready to go for Father's Day this year. And there's new Mistress Carrie purple fleece roll-up blankets that are perfect to take on the go. They fit in your saddlebags, they're great for your pets, awesome for outdoor barbecues, and so much more. Just log on to mistresscarrie.com and click shop. Tim Montana made his first appearance on the Mistress Carrie podcast right around the holidays in December of 2023. His song, The Devil You Know, took off up the rock charts and surprised everybody, including Tim Montana. Well, he's recently announced he's releasing his debut rock album, Savage, set for release on July 12th. He's also heading out on the Tailgate tour this month with Stained, Seether, and Saint Asonia. So I caught up with Tim Montana to talk about how his holidays were, partnering with Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top on the Wise River Club, what it's like for tourists to visit Montana, his new album, outrunning elk, and how he can't wait for a New England lobster roll. Tim is such a great guy, and I am so glad that the rock world has kidnapped him from the country world, and we're never giving him back. So allow me to reintroduce you to Tim Montana. Tim Montana, back on the show.
Mistress Carrie, how are you?
Since the last time I talked to you at the end of December, you've been a little busy. Been doing a couple things.
Yeah, we've been running and gunning pretty hard.
I talked to you about a lot of your holiday traditions. Did you get a chance to do everything that you were hoping? How were your holidays?
They were really good. A lot of family. We did get the biggest Christmas tree of all time, and I did have a Clark Griswold moment. It was...
I told you when we talked that you got to get the big stand. Those big trees are dangerous.
I told you it broke, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was legit. And there's all glass windows. We're renting this house, and it's brand new windows, and I'm just screaming with one arm, like, yeah. So yeah, but it was a really good holiday.
You watched all of the holiday movies, eating popcorn, all of the traditions.
Yes, did it all, and we decorated the bar really cool, all these lights. So then it was really fun having Christmas there and snowing. I dressed as Santa Claus, and yeah.
So the bar you're talking about is the Wise River Club, and you have gone into business with Mr. Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top.
Yes, yep. Bought a legendary spot with a legendary dude, so really cool legendary stuff.
I read that he was helping to decorate the place. Did he take over the decorating, or did you get a say in any of it?
He's just sending a lot of memorabilia. We got a 80s ZZ Top neon sign he sent from like Lone Star Neon in Texas, and they redid it. So it's really cool from their, I think, 86 tour or something like that. So we're getting all this cool neon and posters, and yeah, so he is sending the coolest stuff.
When you and I talked, I told you that I have never been to Montana. And now that I know you've opened up this place, for somebody like me that's never been there, you can stay at the Wise River Club, right? Like, tell me everything that you can do there.
Yeah, so we have 23 mattresses on property. We have the 1800s hotel upstairs. Now I tell people, like, if you're looking for fancy Montana, like Aspen, Colorado, go to Bozeman, go to Whitefish. They have that. If you're looking for authentic, I wouldn't say period correct, but it's definitely old school, right? Like our cabins date back to the 1940s. Everything's clean. Food is warm and awesome. Beer is cold, but it is going to be an authentic, unapologetic Montana experience. If you're looking for fancy, go elsewhere. But yeah, people love that. People really like look for that nowadays. Of like, oh, the stairs lean a little bit. I'm like, yeah, it's 130 years old, you know. But we just updated brand new Serta mattresses, so you'll sleep very comfortable. The beds were dated back to the late 1800s as well, so I got rid of those. Yeah, and we've got fishing is the biggest thing in the summer that tourists come up for. We got a blue ribbon trout fishing river out back that's iconic from the Battle of the Big Hole with the Nez Perce Indians and the cavalry back in the day in the 1800s. That's a really cool park that they've memorialized everyone there. That's like 30 miles up the road. Then there's Crystal Park up there where you can go find wild crystals. My kids love that. There's hot springs, hiking, fishing, hunting, dirt biking, four-wheeling, all the above. WiseRiverClub.com.
It sounds like a great place if you're like out on a long distance motorcycle ride.
Yes. Tons of motorcyclists. And the weird thing is, I don't know if I told you this last time, Carrie, but European cyclists. Like
no, we didn't talk about that.
This is the bizarrest thing ever. I'm thinking I bought this cowboy bar and like day 2, I'm like sitting in there having an anxiety attack going, what did you do? And this guy walks in and he's like got this crazy bike with all these bags, like really expensive mountain bike. And he's like, no English. And I'm like, oh my God. And he's a Frenchman. And so my bass player grew up in France. So I get him on the phone. And I'm like, hey, you need to talk to this guy and tell me what he needs. And these guys go off for like 20 minutes. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm sitting here you guys are probably talking about wine right now. And anyway, I ended up putting him in a room upstairs. And now he follows me on Instagram and messages me all the time. I love your music in France. But the European cyclists come to cycle on Highway 43. And my nephew's like, it's the weirdest thing. You'll have a whole table full of German guys that don't speak English and French guys and all this stuff. Apparently, it's like a bucket list place to ride I don't even know what they call those, mountain bikes, street bikes. I don't know. I'm not into the cycling world.
It's like the Tour de France bikes, right? Like
100%, but with all kinds of bags on them. And these guys do tent camping and all that stuff, or they take the little hotel rooms upstairs, and they love it because they're used to, the European small hotel rooms with a shared bathroom because that's what we have because it's so old school up there. So you have men's, women's bathrooms, and then 7 rooms, and you share those, and then a lounge that we have a TV in and stuff like that. And we only play Western movies.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very cool that you have gone fully all in.
Yeah, rock and roll in the Old West.
When I talked to you last, we were talking about The Devil You Know and this unexpected rock radio hit that you recorded on a whim and kind of released, and it just took off.
Yep.
And since then, now it's a whole rock album. You've just jumped in the deep end. You're a rock star now.
I am so excited. I was finally embraced after 17 years of everyone being like, you're weird, you're too loud, you're too aggressive, but that's too much. Finally, rock and roll's like, we'll take him. And I was like, I'll be your baby. So yeah, diving into this rock realm has been creative freedom is like the words that describe it, of like, I can finally write about what I want to write about, express it through loud guitar and guitar solos. And it's what I grew up listening to. Just because I geographically grew up in Montana, I think I felt like Nashville was the spot to go. And forever, everyone's like, this guy's not he doesn't fit here. He's an alien. And now I got accepted in rock thanks to folks like yourself for playing me and your listeners for being so responsive and so kind. And I am here to headbang till they put me 6 feet under. Let's go. Never looking back.
Is the country world afraid of us all of a sudden because rock has invaded Nashville? And now we're taking Jelly Roll. I just talked to Hardy. We're taking Hardy. We're taking Tim Montana. It's like we've kicked the door open and it's take no prisoners now.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely adore it. I think it's great. All the people that crapped on me for years in my music, I'm just like, found a lane. See ya. I think it's really cool. Excited about it. And yeah, those artists, I mean, Hardy's manager lives right next door to me right now. So he's loving what's going on and he keeps up with me and he's like, dude, I love hearing all the noise you're making in the rock community. So it's really cool.
I had never met him before, and we literally just talked the other day, and he is such, again, another rock guy. And I think for people like me that just grew up in the rock world, country music was never anything I was exposed to. It wasn't a part of, those adolescent, music formative years for me. It just wasn't anything that I was interested in. And now all of a sudden, to see all of these country music stars talking about the rock influence, it's really surprising for somebody like me that's kind of existed in my rock bubble my whole life.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just cool watching. And, for me growing up listening to grunge primarily. And then if I listened to country, it was outlaw country. It was Waylon. It was Charlie Daniels, Willie, Johnny Cash. I never really caught on to the newer age stuff. So I never understood it. When they're asking me to write stuff, I'd be writing somewhere between grunge and the outlaw world, which I call real shit. and, and so it never really worked in the commercial country space, as we like to refer to it. But yeah, this rock lane opening I'm so grateful for it because I finally found my lane and, like I said, creative freedom. Favorite words.
Tell me the timeline. Was Devil You Know was supposed to be just a one-off song, right? Or was it always the plan to be the first single off of an upcoming rock record?
That's interesting. I wrote Devil You Know fully loving it and, said, let's go heavy, let's go hard. And if you go back to my catalog, there was a record called Tim Montana and the Shrednecks. And that was an attempt in probably 2012, 2015 to go super hard. And it didn't work. No one cared about it. They're just this is a rock album. This is terrible, blah, blah, blah. But so I kind of went back to that and I'm like, man, I just don't vibe off trying to chase commercial country. Let's just go rock hard. And we did. And then that started, working. And I'm like, oh my God, something's working. Oh, let's throw some gas on it. So that's when we're like, let's go even heavier now. I feel like the timing's right. The stars aligned. And so we went and cut a whole record of this stuff. And we went, I think we'll put the whole is he country or is he rock thing to bed real fast with this album. So, and I'm excited.
Did you record it after the holidays, after I talked to you, or was it something you were working on last fall?
I was working on it right early December. I came back down here. I flew some guys up, or some guys flew up to Montana. So we wrote 4 of those songs and brought recording gear into an 1800s cabin in Wise River. And it was snowing and cold. And I got some of the co-writers and producer chased by an elk, which was just perfect on brand for me. We went out and this elk came running. They're wearing New Balance shoes, laid in this ditch in a field, and they're bugling. And then we stand up. We never saw anything. We hear their hooves coming at us. And this elk just runs full speed and slams on the brakes 20 yards. And the producer and buddy Mike Fiorentino, Micah Wilshire, got real close to me. And they're like, are you going to keep us safe? I'm like, yeah, we're not going to shoot that elk. We're going to wait. But it was pretty wild. So I got to write there. Then I came back to Nashville and we finished the recording process here and flew in Robin Diaz, a rock drummer from Los Angeles. And he came out. And then, working with Micah Wilshire, the producer too, he's not well known in the production world, but he is a beast. And he is a jazz performer, background singer. Dude is so musical. It's insane. And, so I was like, we're going to hire some guitar players. He's like, no, you're going to play guitar on this. Because guess what? It's not Nashville anymore. It doesn't have to sound like the 5 guys that play on everyone's records here. It needs to sound, Nirvana wouldn't have sounded like Nirvana if Kurt had hired someone else to play his guitar parts. His imperfections made it Nirvana, right? And so that's what our approach was. So every guitar part you hear on this is going to be me, Micah, and then we do have a guest guitar player on one track. So
you're not the first rock star to talk about the importance of imperfections in the recording process, that technology has allowed it where you can remove every single little off note or string dragging noise. But do you think, a lot of people do, that kind of removes the soul of the rock music?
Yeah, 100%. And then we found too that the demo vocals I sang are what 90% of those went on the final record, because there's something magical about the day you create a song. And for me, being a songwriter that writes a ton of songs a year, by the next day I'm on to another song and I may have forgotten about that song or the vibe, the feeling, the magic, all that stuff. And so go into the studio at Micah right up the street from my house right now in Nashville. Like we would treat every demo day as a master day. And we didn't know if we were going to keep the song, hate the song. And he's like, dude, go for it. Sing it for real. And so we set up the vocal chain for me to do it. And then when we went back and I said, oh, I want to fix this and that, I'd re-sing it. And it didn't have the same magic as it did the day we wrote it. So, it's fresh like pizza. You can't wait a couple days.
Well, plus you're the one that's got to play it live.
Right.
So if it's somebody else's touch, feel, sound, not only is it not going to sound like you on the album, but when we're all standing out there watching you play, then it's not your parts either. Right. And we've been diving in deep, and it is more part orientated, the rock genre. Everyone's like, so what's it like with band rehearsals? We're about to start right now. And I'm like, it's not outlaw country or this just good old boy grab the D chord and find the key and roll with it like a lot of the stuff we wrote before. This is like, oh, I have to play, and then my guitar player Tom plays the counterpart. So it is definitely a lot more homework involved. It's not harder music to play, but it's more precise, and you have to nail those parts. It's not just, hey man, can I jam with y'all? It's like, no, you got to really know the parts, so. Okay, so before we talk about the actual album, I want to go back to the elk. As someone that's never encountered an elk in the wild, what are you supposed to do?
They usually don't chase you. I think that I've spent a lot of time. I literally grew up in Elk Park, Montana, where it's elk calving grounds. Any animal that you chase, their babies are young, they're going to come at you, right? But this was interesting because it was a cow and a calf. A female elk is referred to as a cow, and a baby elk is referred to as a calf, much like cattle. But I think this elk was very interested in why we were there. And the sun's down. I was elk hunting, but I have a bull tag, right? So I'm looking for a male elk with big enough antlers that's legal to harvest. But this cow and this calf were very interested in why we were there by the elk herd, and they ran down full speed. So I think it was just sniffing us out. Like a moose will definitely beat you up. Like moose are some of the most dangerous animals in the wild. And I've had experiences with moose where they are sketch and they will trample you. Elk, not so much. Not saying it won't happen, right? Weird things happen. I'm sure there's some guy out there right now that's like, I got gored by an elk in 86. But
I have moose where I live, but I do not have elk here.
Yeah, so they're herd animals. They bugle. They make the coolest noises in the woods. When they are going off, it sounds like dinosaurs. Very prehistoric. They're large animals, and they grunt and make these crazy sounds. But yeah, this cow and calf ran full speed. I mean, you just heard the gallop. And the guys got close to me, and they're like, are you gonna shoot that thing? And I'm like, no, A, it's dark, and B, I don't have a tag for that, and C, we're not threatened. It's just checking us out. But they got real close. They're like, oh. But I was so happy because I love to take people to the edge of their comfort level, especially when they come visit me in Montana. I'm like, we're going to either do a sketchy Polaris ride, you're going to get chased by a critter, something wild is going to happen every time, or it's not on brand.
You said fresh like pizza. Is pineapple pizza allowed in Montana?
I think so. I like pineapple. What do you think?
I'm Italian, and I eat pineapple on my pizza, but that's very controversial.
Yeah, so you get to decide. You're Italian, you're East Coast, and yeah, so you definitely get more say in this than West Coast guys like me. So.
Okay, so we have a lot to cover. Album, Savage.
Yes.
It's coming out this summer, July 12th. Huge.
Yeah, did you get to listen to anything yet?
I heard the whole thing. I got moles.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's so good.
You got people? They don't even let me listen to it. I'm just kidding.
It's so good.
Thank you.
I'm not going to let anybody else hear it, but I listened.
You should. I like to kick out bootlegs every now and again. We're going to put it on Napster tomorrow.
So the title track is the next single.
Yeah.
And it's coming very soon.
Mm-hmm. And we shot all the visuals for that record in Montana. It's very important to me to do it up there because, again, you can be like, oh, Montana is the West and it's country and this and that. I'm like, no, there's nothing country about 60 below zero and a frozen river. That's pretty freaking metal.
Yeah.
So we shot the visuals there. We were in the snow. We were in an abandoned mine. And the guy said, hey, we haven't really cleaned this area up. There's a 1,500-foot hole over there, so I wouldn't go over there. So I had Jen from the record label with me and the photographer, and they're like, huh. And again, I'm like, right on brand. Don't fall in the mine shaft. But we're doing a lot of the visuals up there because it's important for me to tell people where I'm from. And, there's not a ton of people from there, especially in the music business. The dude from Pearl Jam, bass player's from Missoula, by the way, random fact. But yeah, so then the music was just amazing and fun to create. And I you couldn't tell I'm very blatantly honest on this record and went a lot of places that people are you sure you want to say that? And I'm like, hey man, if I'm one thing, I'm real, right? Like I don't mind opening up about, struggling with booze and my deceased father and stuff like that. I hope that inspires people. I'm kind of an open book, and I hope my story, people out there that might be struggling with addiction or abuse, that seen some things like I saw as a child, will hopefully be inspired to like, hey, someone else has been through it, so.
It seems like the rock world is really leading the charge when it comes to mental health and addiction. There are so many bands from Shinedown and Papa Roach and Slipknot that are really kind of circling the wagons, to use a term from your part of the country, to, really get people to know that it's okay to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. And this format again is, I've seen it, like the bands you mentioned are talking about it, putting in their music videos. And, I don't want to be a guy copying that because I have a different story. I have a different take on that. And, but it's real. And if that's something you lived and grew up with, and then you still have nightmares about, I need to write it to be therapeutic to myself, and hoping that it's therapeutic to a listener that has gone through that kind of thing, and some of those songs too, these voices in my head, I swear they want me dead. I talked to a vet when I was writing that song about me, but he told me about some voices he hears about his, addiction issue, telling him to go do that. And then he has a good voice saying you probably shouldn't do that. I wrote that in there because as I was writing that song, he told me that story, and it gave me goosebumps. I'm like, dude. So, telling that story and I do a lot of veteran stuff. So I'm around guys that struggle with horrible things they've seen in war and come home and they have addiction and alcoholism. And that's, they have my ear. So when I'm writing these songs, I'm wanting to tell their story mixed with my story. So.
Well, part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you now is that I wanted to warn you, you're going to spend so much time in the Northeast this year that we're just going to make you an honorary New Englander at this point, because we're going to see you April 27th at the big gig with Stained and Seether and Asking Alexandria. Then I'm going to see you a couple days later in Portland, Maine with the Tailgate tour. And then you just announced that you're going to be on the Bush tour with Candlebox and Jerry Cantrell. So you'll be back in Boston in August.
No, I don't think I'm only on the first 12 dates.
Oh, so you're not going to be.
Oh, yeah. So I'm bummed about that. I'm stoked for the 12 shows I have, but I think it ends in the Midwest if I'm.
Oh, okay.
To check. I know we don't go East Coast with them. Then they go to Texas, they have California. So they split the tour up between two opening acts. So.
Got it. Okay. But you're going to be here twice at the end of the month, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, I want to get some lobster. I love the East Coast.
You said it so good. I'm so happy for you.
Chowder, lobster.
We'll bring you a good lobster roll on a traditional New England hot dog bun. Split at the top, the way it's supposed to be.
I am totally into that. So, yeah, I can't wait to get up there.
Well, it's going to be a huge year for you. I'm so excited. The new album comes out this summer. The Tailgate tour is going to be massive, and you're going to be in 2 different cities on 2 different radio stations that I'm on. So I get to spend a ton of time with you. So I'm psyched.
Yeah. I cannot wait to meet you in person. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on all the big announcements.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for all your support and your listeners. Everybody, it's been a dream come true. So just know I'm very appreciative. Appreciative. Yeah. There we go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'll see you at the end of the month.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie.
There he is, Tim Montana, his debut rock album, Savage, coming out on July 12th. You can see him on April 27th at the DCU Center in Worcester, Massachusetts, and April 30th at the Cross Insurance Arena in Portland, Maine. Check the links in the show notes of this episode to get your tickets. While you're there, you can also listen to Tim Montana's first appearance on the show, episode 186, and you'll find the link to this episode's corresponding playlist. I make a playlist for every full-length episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast that's filled with all of my guest music and all the artists and songs we referenced in the interview. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday. Plus, every weekday, you get the Sit Rep. The Situation Report gives you all of your rock news, music headlines, and entertainment updates in about 5 minutes. Join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern on my official Facebook page, YouTube channel, Instagram, and Twitch for my weekly video show, Cocktails in the War Room. And you can always find me on the radio. Get the details on all of that and more at mistresscarrie.com. The Mistress Carrie Podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.